Hello and welcome to a new episode of Josh's Car Corner. This is the seventh and hopefully final part of Project E38, where I've been swapping the computer in the GTO over to the more modern E38 computer. So let me tell you where we're at right now. The engine is back in the car, and if you watched the last proper episode of Josh's Car Corner, you would have seen me taking the engine over to Advanced Engine Concepts in Green Lake, Wisconsin. We fixed the pressure problem, we put the new gear on the crank, and all that stuff, and put the whole engine back together. Well, it's all back in the car. Everything is now plumbed, wired, hooked up, ready to go. But we have one more hurdle to overcome, and I'm going to explain that to you right now. So the whole issue we still have is getting the car to crank, in other words, get it to start the way that Holden designed it to, by sending that crank request to pin 11 on the Powertrain interface module, and then that being converted to CAN bus, sent to the computer, and then the computer triggers the starter relay to run the starter and start the car. So what I have right here is, this is the spare Powertrain interface module I got from the gentleman on Facebook when I got the body control module and all the other wiring. We kind of ended up using this as our donor for this project, and in the process of experimenting with it, we self-destructed it or blew it up. It doesn't power up anymore. It doesn't work. So what we ended up doing is using it as a sacrifice, because we knew that based on pictures we were sent from guys in Australia, that we were missing resistors on the board that were necessary to send the voltage and the current for pin 11 to the computer, the little processor right here. So if I zoom in on this, and I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see it, we soldered a little resistor onto the board in place of what these are called lay down resistors or lay flat resistors, because they lay right on the board. So this is just a standard resistor, and then we just kind of soldered the pins. Obviously that didn't work. We killed this thing. But the resistors that we needed, and these resistors all have different values, by the way, and we tried to mimic what Holden did in Australia. So we did that. So this is my Powertrain interface module. And as you can see here, and actually I'm going to go back to this for a second. So all of this rallies around right here, this area right here, just above my finger. So that is the circuit series for pin 11. And that's where the resistors need to go to complete the circuit. So here's my Powertrain interface module. So we sacrificed some resistors off of this board, the right values, and put them on my Powertrain interface module to complete the circuit. Now the problem is, we don't know what the end result is we're supposed to see on the other side. There's actually a little test point for pin 11 right here on the PCB. So we could put 12 volts on the pin and then see if it was making it to that test point. And it was, but we'd put 14 volts in and we were only getting like 2/10 or 3/10 of a volt out. Actually, no, I take that back. It was more like 2/100 or 3/100 of a volt. So, and we don't know if that's what's supposed to be getting here. So that is our problem. What we do know is, even with doing that, when we put this back in the car, it still wouldn't crank. So what I ended up doing is ordering another Powertrain interface module. This is the one they get in Australia, and I'll even show you the part number here. And what's different is, it is the last version of the Powertrain interface module that was ever made. So it's hardware version 14 EE0.04 CI 08, and the software version is the last version they ever did, 281.185 Echo. Much newer than what I've got, and Powertrain interface modules have to be backwards compatible to the earliest revision. So I took it apart and looked at this one, and it does have the resistors already soldered onto the board that need to be there. So I'm confident that the pin 11 path is actually there on this one. So it'll have the same software. We should be able to reconfigure it for a Gen 4 V8. So what we're gonna do is, Sean is gonna come over, and there's a little memory chip right here, just below my finger there. You can see that. That is where all the programming information is stored when you program one of these things. So because this has never been programmed before, he's got a little chip reader. We're gonna read what's on the chip right now so we can see what the baseline values are for a brand new, never been programmed Powertrain interface module, and we will have that information to use as a reference. Then we're gonna throw this in the car. We're gonna security link it to my BCM and to the E38, and then hopefully, after we've done that, we'll know the pin 11 path works because this one is designed to use that pin 11 path. So hopefully after we do that, the engine will crank and it will fire. But if it doesn't start after putting this in, then we have to go to the hot wire method. But we will pick this up tomorrow night, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this brand new powertrain interface module will be the solution we've been looking for, and everything is going to work. All right, it's the moment of truth. The reconfigured PIM is now put back in there, and the engine is as assembled as it should need to be to try to crank it. So I'm going to turn the key here. There's no plugs, there's no injectors, so it's just going to freewheel if it does anything, but hopefully it does something. Here we go. Nothing. Shoot, I wonder if I have to have my foot on the brake and the clutch. I shouldn't need the clutch, but let's see. Nope. Clutch all the way down. Nope. Clutch fully down, brake on. Nothing. So it still doesn't want to start. So something else is going on. All right, this is the moment of truth. We finally think we've got all the gremlins worked out. We know that the new PIM sends the crank request to the ECU. We finally think we got the security bugaboos figured out, so we'll see if it cranks. No, it doesn't!
Is the starter relay in?
It doesn't. Crank request active, starter relay inactive, starter relay circuit incomplete. So we put the powertrain interface module in, we programmed it, and turn the key on. Now I'm still going to get the airbag fault. As you can see, I've got the manual seat frames in here now. So there are no motors and therefore there's no airbag warning. And I'm almost still getting very low fuel. I know why. Unfortunately, what happens is I can go push the key or my foot down on the clutch, go to turn the key, and as you can see, the car still will not start. However, if I come over here and push this little copper connector right here, it roars to life. And just to be clear, that is an E38 computer. Let me get in the car. And as you can see, instant fuel economy is ticking away. I do still have a check engine light for something, but the fact remains, the car is running. I can cycle through all the modes, got average fuel economy, trip distance, all that stuff. Nothing is freaking out. Everything is working. So I tell you what, hand on heart, this thing has not moved since I parked it back in October. Why don't we go for a drive? And that windshield is a mess. I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything about that. Here we go. Into second gear. I'm just going to make a quick trip down to the gas station here, and I'm going to fill the tank up. Because one of the reasons that it's still reading very low fuel is, one, I've only got about 1.5 gallons of fuel in there now, and it's 110 unleaded race fuel because it's all I could get my hands on. That was high octane, but not ethanol, because I wanted to make sure that just in case the ethanol sensor wasn't working the first time I fired it up, I had proper fuel in there. So it's got crazy 110 in it right now, but it is working. So we've got 93 octane at the local Costco. I'm going to run down there quick, fill it up, and take it back home and start recalibrating this fuel gauge. Well, I just got it back to the garage and the tank is filled up. Now the fuel gauge reads close to full, which means it's just a calibration problem that I need to correct for what's in here because it thinks it's a ute and it's not a ute. So there are some other issues too. It runs way too lean. I got codes for that. One of the heater hoses is leaking. I saw that once I pulled in, so I'm gonna have to fix that. But the fact remains, it is the first VZ coupe in the world running on an E38 computer. So I still got a lot of things to fix and make work right, but it runs, and that's the whole point. So I'm going to say proof of concept has been achieved. There are still some electrical things I got to work through. I just found out that the traction control actually doesn't work. The EBCM is freaked out because it's not a Holden. So hopefully I can either reprogram the EBCM with Holden software to make it work, or I might have to get one from Australia if I want to get my traction control and my ABS back. I'll get that worked out one way or another. And obviously the starter thing, I'll come up with a more permanent solution for that. But the fact is, it runs good, and it's got a long way to go, a lot of tuning to do because it's completely out of tune right now. But I will make those adjustments. And I'll do a follow-up episode to conclude the whole project to talk about where we go from here. But in the meantime, I got a lot of things to get fixed on here and reprogrammed to get it to where it's fully streetable and I'm happy with it. And then more episodes to getting the car dialed in and tuned right. So look for those soon. Thanks for watching Josh's Car Corner. See you soon.